Hello everybody, how are you? I'm Todros from Automotive Technology Department. Today we will proceed to week 2 part 1 video, and this video will be included drivetrain layout. If you remember last time or in last two videos, we will try to see the half portion of the first chapter, which is introduction to power transmission and power transmission inspection. So we will proceed on this video, which is the drivetrain layout. So for this portion, we will try to again classify into two videos. The first one will be focused on vehicle drivetrain layout, and the second one will focus on inspection performed on this drivetrain layout system or drivetrain system. When we come to first the definition of drivetrain layout, or when we try to differentiate the drivetrain and powertrain, as we know, powertrain will be this is generate power and deliver into the road surface, which includes power generation area and power transmission area until it arrives to the wheel and contact with the road surface. But if we come to the drivetrain, it's simply the mechanical part of the powertrain system. And if you observe these parts, it includes the clutch, the gearbox, the transmission, the propeller shaft or drive shaft, the axle, and the final drive wheels are included on this part. Simply, if you want to differentiate both drivetrain and powertrain, this powertrain includes the engine, also the drivetrain components as I expressed before. So the clutch, transmission, the engine, the drive shaft or propeller shaft, the final drive, and the axle will be included on the powertrain. So it includes the power generation area up to the driving wheel, but this one excludes the power generation area, but it includes the remaining part of the powertrain. So this is the basic difference that we are observing from, or we can observing from the difference between drivetrain and powertrain. Let's come to the basic point that we are discussing today in depth. Drivetrain layout. So if we say drivetrain is the mechanical part of the powertrain, which means after the power is generated from the engine, we can create different layout. And this drivetrain arrangement will be depends on the location of engine and the location of drive wheel. For example, in one vehicle, we can get the drive wheel maybe in some case all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. In some case, the front wheels are driving. In some case, the rear wheel alone will be drive. If you understand this one simply, if you consider some simple bicycle, and if you observe the structure of bike, simply the bike will be made like this, and it will have some structure. It will have some structure, and there is one seat. But the difference came from here. Maybe here it will have some connection with the pedal, and this pedal will be pushed by the rider of the bike. If we observe the front wheel, it doesn't have any connection with the driving member or the power. Simply it's pushed by or pulled by the rear wheel. So when we say drivetrain means, or when we say the arrangement of drive wheel means, in some case we will get at the front, in some case we will get at the rear. So which means the location of drive wheel sometimes at the front, four-wheel drive, at the front only, at the rear. If we observe the bike, we get at the rear only. At the same time, the location of the engine can be, or the engine will be mounted sometimes at the front of the vehicle, or at the front area of the vehicle, around the middle and the rear part. So by combining both, we can create different drivetrain arrangement, and we call this drivetrain arrangement drivetrain layout. So, by interchanging the engine in the drive wheel, the location or the arrangement, we can create the following drivetrain layout. Front engine, front wheel drive. Or in the opposite or reciprocal of this, rear engine, rear wheel drive. For example, let us look these both vehicles. If you observe here, there is engine at the same time drive wheel. So there is not any drivetrain system to the rear wheel. Simply this wheel is to keep the balance of or to carry the load of the vehicle. It doesn't have any contribution to for traction or for pushing the vehicle or pulling for vehicle when the vehicle is moving forward or backward. At the same time, if you observe this vehicle, engine at the same time the drivetrain component is put at the rear, the front is free and it is pulled or pushed by the rear wheel. If the rear wheel will have some problem, it will stop. It doesn't have any contribution for driving or moving the vehicle. So this arrangement are, we will see one by one. Front engine, front wheel drive, front engine, rear wheel drive. So if you observe this vehicle, the engine is at the front, the wheel is at the rear, but this one is four-wheel drive if we exclude this one. And there will be rear engine or mid-engine rear wheel drive. Look, rear engine, rear wheel drive. The engine is located at the mid, at the mid, at the medium of the bus. So in some case we will get also front engine all-wheel drive like this. Front engine all-wheel drive, front engine all-wheel drive. Rear engine all-wheel drive also there is in some design. So if you see the location of the engine, sometimes at the front, sometimes at the rear. In some case we will get at the mid of the vehicle. Also the drive wheel, sometimes at the front, sometimes at the rear, sometimes four or six wheel may be drive. So we will call this one drive train arrangement or drive train layout. Let's try to see one by one what advantage and disadvantage did they have. If we see front engine front wheel drive, as I told you before, every component, the engine, the clutch, the gearbox, or in this case we call the transaxle and the final drive we will get in the front area. This hatch indicates there will be some traction between the rod and there will be contribution of power, but this one is free. So if you see this design, in most cases we can found this one mostly in light duty vehicles, and it uses combo of gearbox and final drive. So the benefit for this layout is it doesn't need any extra drive shaft running along the center of the car. If you observe this one, there is not drivetrain part which pass through on this part. So which means this space will be free for the passenger, at the same time the luggage or baggage compartment. So this vehicle also will have good during winter. If you observe, if the driving wheel and too much load is at the front, what will happen? There will be better traction between the road and the tire because due to the application of too much load of this component. And the efficiency will be high. Why? Because it doesn't have any driveline component. This driveline component will be reduce the maintenance cost, reduce the total load, reduce the acquisition cost of the vehicle. So this will be the benefit. That's why the maintenance and the acquisition will be cheaper. What is bad from this drivetrain arrangement? If our vehicle is front wheel engine front wheel drive, almost the center of gravity of the vehicle will pass through on the front because we didn't have any too much heavy component at the rear. So this will be one disadvantage. Too much load will be there on the front wheel. The turning, look, the load of the engine, the steering effect, the traction effect. These three effects will be stressed on the front wheel. So that will be one disadvantage. The unbalance of weight will be the factor. The turning radius is lower because if you observe this will have too much work. Rotational force transmission at the same time turning the steering wheel. If it is rotate and turning the steering wheel, the turning radius must be very bigger, or this vehicle cannot turn with short turning radius. Acceleration will be poor due to load transfer. When the vehicle is accelerated, the load will be expected to transfer to front to the rear. So that means this will be lose some traction due to load transfer during acceleration. That will be creates poor acceleration. So this poor acceleration also leads to the torque steering, the tendency to pull left or right. That's why in some light duty vehicle which uses this arrangement, when your speed especially accelerate, your steering will have not control easily. That is will be one disadvantage. The next one, front engine, rear wheel drive. The engine is at the front, the drive wheel is at the rear. There will be some additional components, the drive line, and the transaxle combo will be changed by gearbox or transmission. We call this one classic layout. It's usually used on sport cars and luxury vehicles. This structure is very good because it will have better weight distribution, and the front wheel will have less stress because it's not responsible for rotating force. Only this one is responsible for controlling the string and carrying the load of half of the load of the vehicle, or if you consider one wheel, quarter of the load of the vehicle. And the center of gravity will be at the center, somehow at the center than the front engine front wheel drive. So this one will be one advantage which makes this vehicle have better cornering, better acceleration, and no torque string, or the string will be easy. So this is one the other benefit. What is bad on this part? Look, there will be some power loss due to too much mechanical components, like the gearbox extra, the drive wheel, the differential. They are too much and there is some power loss. At the same time, they will add extra weight for this, extra cost for this. And if these parts pass through on this center of the vehicle, it reduces somehow the passenger and the luggage compartment. It doesn't have any space for this. That's why this is not preferable for luggage compartment when you compare with the FF, which means front engine, front wheel drive vehicle. When you see the rear or mid engine, rear wheel drive vehicles, if you see this engine and this engine, the drive wheel is the rear, the engine is at the rear. This one also at the mid, the engine is at the mid and the drive wheel engine is at the rear. This engine will have some benefit. The benefit is variable or favorable weight distribution. When you say favorable weight distribution, if we observe the heaviest part of the engine is at the center of the vehicle, so this will lead to the center of gravity will become at the mid, so which is better for better acceleration, better stability, better balancing, because the weight or the center of gravity will matter too much things on this type of vehicles. So the balancing, the stability, the traction will have better improvement than the other designs. What will be the saddest part for this system or for this arrangement or layout? If we place the heavy engine somewhere near at the middle, oh, what will happen? We will sacrifice too much space. We might, the interior part will be very narrow because the engine, as we know, it's huge or it's heavy at the same time. If you consider in the weight perspective, it's better, it will have better weight distribution, but if the size of the engine is too much, it will take too much interior part of the passenger and interior part of the luggage compartment. This is one disadvantage. The next one is this system will make complex sub-designs like the cooling system. If we observe the nature of cooling system, simply what happened on this vehicle is the arrangement becomes at the center. In normal vehicles, the front of the vehicle will be have some grill which allows the pass of air, and this air will be automatically dissipate some heat of the radiator and the engine at the same time. If we put the engine at the center, the air cannot get the engine easily. So which means this vehicle requires very efficient heat exchanger. And for this part, maybe sometimes they use air ducts and some ventilator which sucks some air, so to enhance the efficiency of cooling system. Most of the time, if the efficiency of cooling system will be lower, or the engine will be overheat, because if the engine is at the front, or the air directly it can cool, at the same time the cooling system do another work. Here the direct air interaction will be very lower, especially when we come to the rear engine. This problem is very critical. On the next part, if we see front engine all-wheel drive, we call this one or automaker blends the front engine front wheel drive and the rear engine front wheel drive. That means in front engine front wheel drive, the front wheel was responsible. In the rear engine, the rear engine rear wheel drive, the rear was responsible to drive. In this case, they were combined both. These are really one better design, especially for tarmac road or off-road vehicles, because they will have better handling, better traction. Why? These four wheels are contributor for the driving force. Okay, if these wheels have suffer lower traction or in muddy or slippery road, this will handle, the front will handle. If the front fail, the rear will handle. So they work together to reduce the traction problem, the stability problem. That is the benefit of this vehicle or this arrangement. A major downside or problem for this arrangement is the cost issue is critical. They are really expensive to buy. If you consider the parts here, if we consider the parts here, look, this one, or the transfer case, the propeller shaft, the front differential. Oh, these are extra components, which requires too much cost, which adds too much weight to the vehicle. That's why they will have less efficient in fuel, they will have too much acquisition cost, or they are expensive to buy. So also the other is they will have some higher transmission power loss due to their heavier load and too much components. Due to friction of the engine, some energy will lose. Due to friction of clutch, some energy will lose. Due to friction of gearbox, at the same time transfer case and the final drive. You see, when we add some coupling device or when we add some transmission power transmission devices, there will be a lot, or we lose some energy that reduce the efficiency of the engine. So that will be the major problem for this vehicle. In some aspect, in rare manner, we will get rear engine all-wheel drive arrangement also. Let's have a quick summary on this. When you say drivetrain or drivetrain layout or arrangement, we will made by interchanging engine and drive wheel location. By making this arrangement, we will make front engine, front wheel drive, front engine, rear wheel drive, rear or mid engine, rear wheel drive, front engine and all wheel drive. At the last, rear engine all wheel drive also included. If we see the benefit or the advantage and disadvantage in short manner, front engine front wheel drive vehicles are there really most common. The drivetrain is short, good during winter, power loss is smaller. The disadvantage for the vehicle is unbalanced weight of the car due to center of gravity loss. Acceleration will be poor due to load transfer. Turning radius tends to be bigger due to too much load will be at the front wheel. If we see front engine rear wheel drive vehicle, we call this one classic layout. The weight distribution is better. It will have better cornering because the front will have only load carrying and steering effect only. It will have better acceleration due to better weight distribution. The disadvantage is more weight is added. So for this weight, there will be higher fuel consumption and they will have lower efficiency due to too much friction, and the cost for the extra component will be another issue. In rear or mid-engine rear wheel drive arrangement, they will have really favorable weight distribution because the heaviest part of the engine will be at the mid, and they will have overall improvement on traction, balancing and stability due to load distribution effect. The bad thing for this arrangement is, or the disadvantage is, engine cooling will be very, very complex. For vehicles front engine all-wheel drive, except cost, they are good in handling, traction, whether in normal or tarmac or off-road. So this is the summary of our lesson. Thank you for your attention. As usual, if you have any question, comment, or any feedback, you can contact me by this address. Thank you. Have a nice time.